Hi, in this lesson we're going to take a look at how to set up 3ds Max for an interior scene. Now, this is the way I personally set up Max. It's all subjective. It differs from studio to studio and person to person. The first thing that I always do is set up the gamma. So preferences in the customize menu, gamma and LUT. Input gamma to 2.2, so 3ds Max reads all your JPEGs, all your TIFFs, everything at 2.2, and there used to be a little section here that was output gamma, which you could select output at 1, which has now been removed, which means it should be auto gamma and should do it itself. These two are quite important depending on what way you work. So you can have the effect color selectors, which will affect the color sliders, you get in your material editor, so when you select your on your scale of black to white, that will affect that. And the effect material editor will apply gamma correction to your material shader balls. So if I tick that on and press OK and open the material editor, you will see that these are quite blown out at the moment. They're quite faded, and that's all because of effect material editor selection. So if I go back to preferences and then untick that, you will see now they're all very much darker. This is more of a realistic representation. So I've actually started now, due to the studio I work for, keeping the material editor looking like this. I just find it helps me get better results when I'm texturing. So after those two have been set up, the next thing I do is go to units. You need to set the system scale to whichever you choose, really. For me, it's always going to be millimeters or centimeters. Meters is brilliant for large-scale master planning projects where you don't need the decimal points. However, interior modeling, detailed modeling, needs centimeters or millimeters to be able to get close enough to the models to put in the appropriate detail. I just set mine to millimeters. It was what I was taught when I was in an engineering background. Everything was in millimeters, so I just keep it simple to what I know. And then I also put the display unit scale to millimeters too. Obviously, you can change it to whichever you can read easier. Millimeters is just the one for me. So that's also done now. What we're going to take a look at next is a few helpful free plugins and scripts that I find really beneficial to the way I work and to the way many of the studios I've worked in also work. And we're going to go through them in Google and in fact, no, we'll go through them in Max quickly and I'll just show you a few things. So you have little shortcuts here for render mask, floor generator, relink bitmaps. These two, isolate selection and sweep profile, come from a group of scripts called track scripts from CGStore.co. We've got the VMC, V-Ray property control, and then we've got copy and paste objects from file and to file, which allows you to copy and paste between Max files, which is very, very helpful, I can tell you. So if we go into Google, this is the CGStore track script. There's a lot of scripts in this pack. To name a few, V-Ray Cam Lister, which is very much like V-Ray Light Lister, but for cameras, which is very helpful. This sweep profile was the main reason I originally downloaded it, because when you want to put detailed sweep profiles into cornices and coving and skirting boards, it comes in very handy with a lot of traditional presets, which are great for much more traditional architectural projects. But there's also another very, very handy little tool in there called isolate selection. I know Max 2014 has improved a lot with its isolate selection. It just keeps going deeper into the isolate rather than unisolating everything when you press Alt-Q a second time. However, the isolate selection tool in track scripts allows me to isolate within an isolate and then come out of that isolate and still keep the original isolate, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'll just show you a quick example. So we have these three boxes and I want to isolate these two. So I press Alt-Q and that allows me to isolate the selection. But I never want to bring the third box back into view because these are my main areas of concentration. But sometimes I will need to work on this box and not have this box in. So this little isolate shortcut allows me to isolate that box But when I press it again, it brings me back to my original isolate. And then if I switch that off, that brings back all three. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, that is a very, very handy script to have at hand. So that's the basics of track scripts, the ones that I use anyway. The next one I'm sure a lot of people might have heard of is a Colin Center script called Relink Bitmaps. This means when you change workstations or you take files somewhere else or bring something in from home, this allows you to just relink all your maps to the folders if anything's missing and it can't find them. It allows you to repath them, and again is a very, very helpful tool. I think Colin has a donation link if you choose to do that. I've donated before because, as it says on the donation link, it is a lifesaver. So yeah, I would definitely download that as it's free. The next one is VMC, V-Ray Material Controller, from Oliver Radford. Another great script. I couldn't live without it now. The V-Ray Material Controller, you'll see, has another donation, which is very handy for him. It allows you to adjust all your V-Ray material properties in the scene. It allows you to go through each property of each material and adjust it individually or globally. You can adjust the subdivisions of your materials, your lights, your camera for your depth of field and your brute force GI. And just if you need to make global adjustments just to improve the quality of your materials or renders, just get the subdivs up. It's a great tool for universal conversions, especially for material subdivisions. And the next one we're going to take a look at is what's next on Google. Copy and paste. Does what it says on the tin. Allows you to copy from one max file into another max file, but obviously you have to have them both open at the same time. Cool Picker is the next on the list. This was shown to me by an ex-colleague, Dave Buckley. It's just a color picker. It's no different to any other color picker. I just like the look of it. It's just a little bit more interesting. It allows me to view it as tries. It also allows me to pick a color, and then if I choose to pick another color, I can glide between the two and pick somewhere in the middle that I deem to be the exact color that I'm looking for, which is great to have a gradient to choose from. It's got, click and drag left here to take a color from the screen as well. So you can pick from JPEGs or any reference images that you have. The next one would be Floor Generator. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this. Floor Generator allows you to create different size floorboards with random rotation, random size. It all comes UV mapped, and that works hand in hand with the next on the list, which is multi-texture, which enables you to take different textures and randomize them in sequence, but also randomize the hue, saturation, gamma control, so you can get brighter, darker, slightly different colors, more saturated, less saturated. It really gives you control over randomizing your textures to create a natural, random look to your flooring, really. It's as simple as that. Render mask is another lifesaver. When you don't have time to go through and set up your multi-mats and you just need a couple of quick masks out, this allows you to pick any object in the scene and open the render mask dialog here, and you can pick a luminance map, render mask, and then you've got a white alpha luminance map which you can use to mask anything out in Photoshop or whichever post-production software you use. And the last one on the list, which is something new to me, which I'm going to be using in this tutorial to create some wood, is Debris Maker. This is great. The company that the studio that I work for, have created brick walls from it. You can use it to make any debris, put leaves on the floor. I personally, on this project, I'm going to use it for logs, splinters and twigs, and planks for wood for the fire, the log burner in the scene. But again, it's it's basically a one-click solution to any kind of debris, which takes a lot of time and effort out of trying to create some randomized propping for your scenes. So that's my basics of setting up 3ds Max. I hope that's been helpful, and in the next lesson we're going to learn how to set up some basic architectural modeling and creating the structure without having any available CAD plans or dimensions. I hope some of this helps, and I'll speak soon.